let's get the hate out of the way. What do I hate about it? Because there are some things I actually despise about it. Number one is this box, the location of it, and it's plastic. So when you lay this thing on its back, in order to change the disc, it's always going to be resting on that plastic box. All it takes is one boo-boo, and that box cover is either shattered or cracked. That's one thing. The only other two things I don't care for about this machine is that the weights are actually bolted on with an Allen wrench. So in order to get the weights on and off, you have to have an Allen wrench. This handle comes off the body, just like the Trio, two separate pieces. And same thing, these look like hand nuts, and in a sense they are, but there's an Allen wrench right there that needs to go in there, and it's a different size than the ones that cover on the weights. So you have to have two different Allen wrenches, and you gotta put this thing together with tools. And we're gonna take care of that because a machine should go together toolless. End of conversation. So we're gonna get 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and they're gonna be hand nuts. And the same with these. Just like on the Trio, when you connect the base of the Trio to the handle, you have the big hand nuts. So we're gonna handle that. Other than that, that's it. That's the only pain in the ass. And it does take time to get those screws in like that with an Allen wrench. It just is what it is. So we're gonna alleviate that, and this machine will be where we need it. There's all the hate out of the way, and let's get to the nitty gritty of how this thing works. We did get the vacuum. You don't have to buy one with the vacuum, or you can get it with the vacuum, and the vacuum comes off. And the ease of the vacuum to take it off, coming back, loosen this up, this lifts up, and the vacuum comes right off. I like having the onboard vacuum better than I do having a hose going to it, because then I'm only fighting a cord as opposed to fighting a cord and a hose. And there is a bunch of different ways you can run this, a bunch of different handle configurations. So how you guys saw me just running that machine in all different configurations, how you guys saw me as far as running it speed-wise, that's how quick I walked with this over this entire floor. I posted a video yesterday of Chrissy grabbing a hold of the handles for the first time, and she didn't know what to do, so it didn't look like she was really moving, right? Because automatically, you look at this, and you think it's a buffer. So you think that in order to get it to move, you gotta lift up, you gotta push down to make it go left and right. Obviously not the case. This is obviously a disc that spins around, but we're gonna get to that in a second. So don't let that video that I made with Chrissy grabbing a hold of the handles yesterday fool you. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know how to make it go. She thinks it's, up and down to make it go left and right. And again, this is not a buffer, and that's what threw her off. And I think that's what throws off a lot of people. This is literally, in all rights, a version of the Trio in the sense that you can go in any direction. There is no cut point to it, so you can go in any different direction you want, where most other planetaries outside the Trio, you have to go, at the 4 o'clock position roughly. UFO attachment, you have to go in certain directions with that and with the crane. This thing, you can go in any direction just like the Trio, and it just doesn't matter. But the difference is, it actually does run like the Trio, where you don't lift up the Trio to make that machine go left and right either. You actually walk it back and forth. So if you've never run a Trio, you're doing nothing but walking back and forth. If anybody's ever run a burnisher is the same way. You pull the trigger, there is no up and down. It's back and forth. You're walking straight, then you're walking backwards. So let's get that out of the way right now. That this is literally how quick this thing cuts. You're going to walk a lot quicker with this than you ever will with your Planetary. At least double the speed and get the job done. This is the 80 grit paper, double-sided, silicone carbide. At first glance, this looks like a buffer, right? Get your white pad and it's on a driver. The difference is this driver doesn't come off, it's bolted on. Now here's the difference. I always try to tell people that it's not just the abrasive that you choose that makes the difference. It's also how that abrasive is being moved. So think about this. Festool Rotex RO150, right? Random orbital. That's exactly what this is. It's just a gigantic Rotex on a stick. That's what it is. That's how this rotates. This unit spins at 1400 RPMs. In that motion and around at the same time. There's a counterweight, which I'm probably not going to be able to highlight because it's kind of dark in there. Let me see if I can get some light on it with my phone. There's a counterweight right inside there. So when you spin it around, that's what gives you that motion. And that's what makes this thing work fantastic. Were we able to get this machine dead against the baseboard? So here in New England, we don't see a lot of quarter-round shoe moldings or anything like that. In general, we see all just base, that's it. On this job that we're on right now, really small, which is what we planned for. We wanted to try this machine out on a really small job just to make sure, and it bought us a little bit of time. So, the time for experimenting, that is. In this room here, you'll notice there is no quarter round. So very rarely do we see quarter round. For whatever reason, that other room has quarter round in it. So this hallway and this room here have not yet been hit with the hyperorbit. This room has. And we were able to get right against the quarter round. There is no reason for us to get down on our hands and knees and do anything further than the edging with the flip at that point. And again, I can feel this in my socks when I'm walking. This feels like velvet through my socks. And again, like I said, you're probably not gonna be able to experience it unless you try one out. But this literally feels and looks like the back of my Gibson Les Paul Custom, of course, without a finish on it, but it's just that smooth. This is a great ad for us. And this is going to be the machine for the guys who are used to making a tabletop finish on the floor, which is undoubtedly fantastic. And this is a machine, at least for us anyways, and I think the people like us are just going to be the machine that's going to bring it up to the next level where you're going to be actually making furniture for the subfloor. That's the only way that I can refer to it, that people are going to kind of get it. It's a fantastic machine for us. And it's going to cut out a couple of processes of sanding and vacuuming. Overall, that's going to save a lot of time, and time is money, and it's going to save abrasives. And where you're actually tightening up the grain more, but yet you're not burnishing it, you're going to have more of the polyurethane and or the stain, whatever you choose to do for a finish, you're going to have more of that on top. So what that's going to do, it's going to give the floor more depth, more life to it. And we'll see at the end of the week when we get all the finish down. But I'm suspecting that the way that it's being set up right now by this machine, that we're going to put down 3 coats as usual on top of a coat of stain, and it's going to look like 4 to 5 coats of finish instead of the 3, because the grain of the wood is closed up a little bit more, yet it's not varnished. I would highly recommend giving one of these a test drive. This just takes it to the next step, right? So the Trio and the Hyper Grinder, in our experience, will give you a tabletop finish. This thing will give you what looks and feels like the finish on the back of my Gibson Les Paul custom guitar. This is amazing. And again, this is only a 80 grit paper. So we don't need to go any higher. Right? So most of the times on stain jobs, you're going to go to 120. And so if we finished up with 80 on the Hyper Grinder and then 80 on this, essentially we're knocking off one step, one process, one sanding process off the job in order to achieve a stain quality floor. Plus we're knocking off one entire vacuuming process. So on 1,000 square feet, if you remove one sanding process and one vacuuming process, you're already ahead of the game. This is a no-brainer.